I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to create balance in every single area of your life and create what you actually want doing it. Because I do believe that in order to really be happy, there has to be some element of balance. And whatever that means to you, of course, every single human being is going to be different in regard to, what balance means. But what I'm saying is that, we all have different value systems and we all care about different things. And depending on what you value, you're going to balance your life accordingly. You're going to take the actions accordingly, and you're going to do the things that you need to do to get closer to what it is that you care about. And I believe that's just what people do, even if they don't realize that's what they're doing. Even if you don't realize that your actions are aligned towards your values and what it is that you care about most, that's exactly what's happening in your life. And that's exactly what's happening to every single person in your life, is that even if they're not consciously aligning with intentions that they care about, they're still aligning with their intentions and what they care about. They just aren't doing it on purpose and not crafting that vision consciously and with intention. So, you might look at the person and say, oh man, they don't really care about what they're taking action on. Well, they do though, because their actions prove that. Their actions prove that that's exactly what they care about. When people say actions speak louder than words, that's the case. It is the case because, somebody might say that they care about something, but what are their actions? If you want to see what somebody cares about, just look what they do in their life every single day, then that's it's gonna show you what they care about. And so with that being said, the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is to know what you actually value and care about in your life. So I want to ask you a question, and that question is, do you know what is most important to you? Do you know what you care about in your life the most? And I'm not saying that it needs to be necessarily one thing. I'm not saying that you need to decide on your relationship or your business, or decide on your business or your relationship or your family. It's like, oh man, what do I care about more, my family or my business? It's like, no, I'm not even inviting you and encouraging you to think about it like that. I'm inviting and encouraging you to think about it like, do you consciously realize what you care about? Do you have a list of the most important things that you care about? What do you care about? Do you care about having a romantic partner in your life? Do you want that? What kind of romantic connections do you want? What is your value system? Do you care about having a family? Do you care about being close with your bloodline and the people that are close to you and your family? Do you care about building a family with somebody else also? Do you want that, or do you have clarity on that? Do you know what you want in regards to your work life? In your business, whether you're self-employed or whether you're working for a company and you're working for a company or in some type of setting like that, right? What do you care about in regard to that? Do you care about having friendships? What kind of friendships do you want in your life? Do you care about having friends at all? Maybe you don't even want friends. Do you have clarity on that? Do you know what you want, and do you have clarity on what you want? Do you know what you value? And so I'm asking you this because for me, I never realized that, when I was taught by somebody else that we can craft our value. I didn't come up with this on my own. I was taught this by a really powerful mentor and a really powerful teacher. He taught me that we can craft our values consciously, and that, people do this whether they realize it or not. And it opened my eyes to make me realize that that's absolutely the truth. When people, and you can just look at it in a romantic setting. If somebody says they care about somebody, but then they cheat on them, well, they don't really care about them because they cheated on them. That's how I see it. If you really care about somebody and you do something that goes against that and you break someone's trust, you don't actually really mean what you say. It's one thing to tell somebody that, you can trust me and you can do this and I trust you, blah, 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 blah. But then if your actions go against that, then you're just a liar. At that point, you are manipulating the person, whether you're doing it on purpose or not. If you're manipulating them on purpose, that's not a good situation to be in whatsoever for you or that person. If you're manipulating them on accident because of your ignorance, that's still not a good situation to be in, because absolutely you're still breaking their trust based on something that you have control over that you perhaps think you don't, but you do. You absolutely do. And so if you are taking actions that go against your word, maybe you don't even know what your word is and you don't have clarity on that. And so that's why it's important to take a step back and be like, wait, what is important to me? What do I care about? What do I want to do? And let me just think about that. Let me just take some time to resonate with that. Like, wait, what do I want? What do I care about? Because remember, again, time's limited, right? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to think about it. But if you're going to think in your mind that time is limited, I promise you, You're going to take much more action, and you're going to live life with a much higher sense of urgency, which a much higher sense of committedness, and you're going to live with excellence. When people talk about words like excellence and commitment and devotion and all these types of amazing words, it's like, what creates that? What creates that is, I think, remember that it's going to be time for you one day to depart. And that sounds cold to say it like that. But just remember, when you say, I don't have time for this, let me just bring this to the second point of this video. After you've clarified what you've found important to you, and you realize that there's time, time is not going to be forever, and then you got to make important, you got to create those values, and you've done that, and you have clarity on what you want, and you know what's important to you. Now what you need to do here is to create time for it in your schedule. Make it real. Don't just talk about it. You have a list now, that's amazing. Don't tell anybody about the list. Don't talk about the list. Don't even mention it to anybody. Don't let people know, I have this list and it's going to be amazing and here's what's important to me. Don't tell people. Go create time for it in your schedule and live in alignment with that list every single day of your life. And if you do this, you're going to create balance. And when I say create time for it, what I mean is you can allocate time to every single thing that's important to you. Maybe one day a week this thing, maybe or hourly per day, maybe in your schedule a couple hours this, couple hours that. Maybe for 8 to 5 you work, and then the rest of your day you allocate to whatever else is important to you. And you know what you're going to allocate to your life after you work. Maybe you're just a self-employed business owner and you just want to work 3 hours a day. That's what you want. You say, what, I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I just want to work 3 hours a day. Well, then create time for that in your schedule. Schedule three hours a day to work, and then the rest of your life, go do whatever else you want and create that for yourself. Maybe it's not always a possibility. Maybe sometimes people do need to work on 9 to 5 and then work on their business on the side to create what they want. And that's absolutely a really wise choice, I think, to make for some people. But regardless of what the case is in your life and what it is that you need to do, what I'm encouraging and inviting you to consider is just that you need to remember that it doesn't have to be like a all or nothing thing. You can create time for it. You can create time for every single thing in your life. So when people say like, I don't have time for this thing in my schedule and I can't do it. There's not enough time in the day. Like, all of these things are ultimately just excuses. They're just excuses because you absolutely have the time. You absolutely can create the time. Anything that you care about in your life that's important to you, you're going to make the time for it. Like I talked about earlier, right? People's actions always align with what they value, whether they're conscious of this or not. And so if you start to become conscious of the fact that you care about something, you're going to make time for it. You're not going to settle for anything less. If somebody cares about something, I'm sorry to say it in this way, but I think that they're going to make time for it, and they're going to create it. It's like, time is almost like this thing where it's like, if you care about something, you can create time out of thin air. People magically can create time out of thin air if they care about something, even if that's for their best and for their better, or if they're holding themselves back and it's for their worst. Hopefully it's for their best, but it could be for their worst. And so the best thing you can do is consciously craft your life in a way that feels right to you. Remember what I'm saying here, I want it not to be something that makes you feel upset or to feel sad or to feel like there's something wrong with what I'm saying. What I'm encouraging you to think about is, how can you feel empowered to literally fit time in your schedule in regard to what it is that you care about on a list in your life. Like, if you have it on a list and it's there in front of you and it's like, okay, what's my time looking like? What's my calendar looking like? Now there's no excuse. And so what I want to conclude this video with is the understanding that, I invite and encourage you to start to believe that in fact, you can in fact do it all. You can, you don't have to sacrifice as much as people think. I want you to consider that's a possibility. I want you to consider that it's a possibility that you don't have to just focus on your romantic relationship in your life, or just your business, or just your health. It's like, if I need to focus on my health or my business, I need to just neglect everything else. If I want to focus on my business, I can only do my business, and I can't, my health has to go downhill now, and I can't do my romantic relationships. It's like, no. What if you can have a romantic relationship if that's what you want? What if you could have a good business if that's what you want? What if all of your life could be balanced? And if you're saying that you don't want a friendship and you don't want a romantic relationship, or vice versa, like you don't want business at all, and you just want to just have romance in your life, like if that's what you want, like I wouldn't see like anything wrong with any choice. Okay, there's nothing wrong with any choice, but what I'm saying is that you can in fact have it all if that's what you want as well. Just be open to the possibility that you can have it all, and that there's nothing wrong with any choice. There's nothing wrong with having a vision or having a desire, or to want something, or to have a desire for something. You just have to know what you want, have clarification on that, and then once you have a very clear direction, you have a lot of clarification on what it is that you desire and what you want in your life. Now all you have to do is just align your actions with that and create time for it in your schedule, and then to remember in the back of your mind that you can make time for all of it. You can absolutely make time for all of it. Like there's really no excuse. And I want you to start to open yourself up to the possibility that there's really no excuse, and that it's all up to you. And it's like, if there's going to be factors outside of your control, then of course let those go. I'm not saying to be attached to outside circumstances or to outside opinions or to things that you can't control. None of this matters to you. I'm not saying to be concerned about any of that. But what I'm saying is to remember that all the things you can control, once again, to just take control. Go ahead and give yourself permission to take control of that and to not feel guilty about that. No guilt, no shame. Just own it. Just own it fully and say, hey, here's the desire. I'm going to make time for it in my schedule. And if you don't, well then now there's a serious problem there, because if you're saying that you want something, if you say that you value something, and you say that you care about something, and then you create time for it and you don't follow through with that, now you have a very clear indicator of where your character is at, and you're going to have to investigate what's really going on there and what's happening there and what the core essence of that situation is and why you're not willing to take action. What's really going on there? What's really happening there? Why is it that you say you want this thing, but then you're not willing to take action in the direction of that thing that you say you want? What's really happening there? What's really going on? You're gonna have to call yourself out. I'm gonna hope that you have people in your life to call you out. I'm gonna hope that this video is a calling and is calling you out on something that perhaps you're not doing. But I'm gonna also hope right now that in this video, I'm gonna let you know, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna let you know that, I really hope you know how to call yourself out as well. And just to go ahead and do that, because if you don't, then that's gonna be a serious problem for your life, because you need to know how to self-reflect, and self-reflection is going to be one of the biggest keys to really creating a lot of balance, to balance, because you say, what, where am my sticking points? What am I not making time for? Where am I lying to myself? It's so easy to point fingers and say, oh, this person's lying to themselves. This person's not doing it right. They're doing it wrong. Them. They're doing it wrong. And then what about you? Where can you take responsibility in your life, and what is it that you can take action on that you're not doing, and that, more importantly, where are you saying you're going to take action and then you're not doing that? That's a serious problem that you're going to have to look at and to see what's happening there. Okay, so remember that you can do it all, and then in fact you can create balance in all of these areas if that is what you so desire to create. And with that, I conclude this